Palmer up against Jack Underwood.
Yeah, Jack Underwood, accomplished in their own right, competed at the regionals level, of course, for years, it looks like, in Australia, doing very well. Top 16, top 8 finishes, and of course a top 64 at Worlds as recently as 2019. Going to be playing that Reshiram and Charizard GX with the Blacephalons, the Cramorants, kind of that fire toolbox, aka Tempo Zard. And over on Jordan's side, we're going to be seeing good old Arceus Dialga and Palkia GX combined with Zacian V.
Yeah, ADP Zacian, a deck that we've seen tons of here throughout the standard format. Going to be up against a little bit of a aggressive deck. So the key to this matchup is definitely going to be who can really get off to what they need to get off to as fast as they possibly can. It's going to be interesting for sure. I'm excited to get into this match, our first match for you guys from the Oceania bracket. So let's go ahead and throw it down to the players here and get into this first match. It's going to be winners round 5, and it looks like Jack going to be losing the coin flip, so Jordan will choose to go first to start things off.
Yeah, Jordan actually taking things a little bit of a different approach, going to force Jack to go first here, which is kind of an interesting strategy. Usually as ADP, you want to go first, you want to get that attachment, and you want to try to get off an Intrepid Sword, but Jordan knows that as the Welder deck, you really can't do much unless you're able to play a Welder. Of course, not able to play a supporter on turn 1. So Jordan making a pretty interesting choice here, choosing to force the Welder deck to go first, and it is possible for Jordan to pull off the turn 1 Altered Creation GX. We'll see if he's got the pieces to make it happen. I mean, that is what dreams are made of if you are a Arceus Dialga Palkia player.
Yeah, it looks like Quick Ball to start things off is going to go ahead and discard the Marnie. Most likely going to grab something like an Arceus Dialga Palkia, which we do see get grabbed into the hand. Arceus Dialga Palkia going to get benched, and another Quick Ball to be played. Will go ahead and discard that Tool Scrapper. Not very relevant in this matchup, as I believe there is no tool cards in Jack's list.
And I imagine if you're Jordan and you're choosing to go second in this matchup, we're going to see Jordan be very aggressive here. Dead-Eye Change, we'll probably see a Dark Asset from Crobat. Really just trying to find all those pieces. Needs to get a Metal Energy down into the discard pile, a Metal Saucer to get it onto a Zacian V on the bench, a Water Energy for the Arceus Dialga Palkia in the active, and then, of course, an Energy Switch to move that Metal Energy from the bench up to the active. And we've got a couple of those steps already complete. Water Energy on the active, Metal Energy in the discard pile. Let's see if Jordan can find those last 2 pieces.
Yeah, interesting thing to note, Dedenne did get rid of one of the Metal Saucers, so will be one more card to find, I guess, having less of them in the deck. Looks like Quick Ball, the third one of this turn actually getting played, will grab the Aegislash to thin out the deck. No other things. It looks like not grabbing anything else off of that Cherish Ball, I believe, if that was in the hand. And just an Intrepid Sword. So Jordan not going to be able to pull off his turn 1 Alter Creation. However, you have to feel pretty solid when your opponent didn't do much this turn and may not have very much outs in this case.
Yeah, very solid turn. Overall on Jordan's side, all things considered. One thing that is a little unfortunate is you did play that switch card very early on. So this Arceus Dialga Palkia is in the active and could very easily take a good chunk of damage here from a Reshiram and Charizard. And it looks like that's what Jack is powering up here, and we already see the switches in hand.
An interesting thing to note as we look at these players' lists, Jack is actually playing that Oranguru with the Primate Wisdom ability, which pairs so nicely with the Mewtwo, being able to use Mind Report to put the Welder on the top of the deck and then get that into your hand by switching the top card of your deck with a card in your hand. So instead of either having to draw into that with something like Oricorio, opting to play the Oranguru, just have more access to find these Welder cards super quickly.
Yeah, we see Jack taking his time here, going to check the prizes, make sure they are totally aware of what exactly they are going to have access to throughout the course of the game, and going to go ahead and opt to use the Jirachi here. And it looks like since you've got the double switch in hand, Jack just wants to go ahead and try to utilize Stellar Wish while they've got the switch cards available to him, and pays off pretty nicely, finds that Giant Hearth, which will allow you to get the guaranteed energy, so we will definitely be seeing a double blaze for 200 this turn.
Yeah, Dead-Eye Change is going to discard that Fire Crystal, 6 fresh new cards. These look like 6 very powerful cards indeed. Hitting into the Arceus Dialga, and Palkia before it gets off Alter Creation is the key. You really do not want to let it get off an Ultimate Ray, applying damage, but more importantly, also accelerating tons of energy onto those bench Zacian V. And looks like we are going to see that. Double Blaze dealing 200 damage to this Arceus Dialga and Palkia, as action will be back onto Jordan. I'm sure we're going to be seeing Alter Creation if there is the Metal Energy. And there is a Mawile. It is going to be able to bring this Cramorant down from the hand. Captivating Wink, a great ability to usually catch some of the support Pokemon, but it's not going to catch any from Jack in this case, but still feels good to at least get something down to the bench. Maybe Jack didn't want to play that Cramorant down, and now you force it onto the bench without Jack having any say.
It's kind of a tough spot here for Jordan. You can attach your energy for turn to the Arceus Dialga Palkia, go for Alter Creation, but then what? Actually, Jordan in his list not playing any copies of Rusted Sword, which is normally kind of a really strong card for these ADP Z decks. It allows you to pick up KOs on things that have more than 260 HP, like this Reshiram and Charizard, for example. So that omission here from Jordan's side could definitely be detrimental, could come back to hurt you here, especially considering you're already down multiple Metal Saucers since one got discarded and one is just played. And we actually see another Arceus Dialga Palkia hit the field.
It looks like what we might be seeing is an altered creation on this fresh Arceus Dialga and Palkia. So there is the energy switch going to move the water energy and attach return. This is going to force Jack to have the gusting effect onto this Arceus Dialga and Palkia. Otherwise, we could just see this fresh one get an Ultimate Ray, and if Jack cannot find a way to gust that up, it will pretty much just sit on the bench and wait until it gets knocked out, but it will put Jordan in a spot where he can Ultimate Ray, get some more energy to play. Obviously, there is no real way to deal with this in one hit. You can Flare Strike it, but then it gets off an Ultimate Ray, and gonna even take a step further and bring this double up into the active to make it even harder for Jack to put together some sort of play if there is nothing in hand. Did, however, get to take a look at the hand with Captivating Wink. So Air Balloon going to come down onto the bench Zacian, and there is the Ultra Creation GX, going to increase the damage by 30 from all of Jordan's Pokemon's attacks. And the important effect is that every time a Pokemon is knocked out, Jordan gets to take an additional prize card.
And a very good top deck on Jack's side, able to find the switch, so the defensive boss on Jordan's side not going to work out ideally today. And Jack also does play the Fione in their list, of course, with that Whirlpool Suction ability, can have that option to try to get a prize this turn, because otherwise you're not going to be able to take a knockout on this active ADP. But it actually looks like Jack wants to go with the Cramorant here, and you've got a couple of choices there on the bench. You can knock out the Dedenne for 2 prizes, or even knock out that Arceus Dialga Palkia that already has 200 damage on it.
Yeah, I think maybe eyeing up double for the late game. Obviously, Revenge Blast being a great attack as a revenge attack, as in stated in the name, dealing more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. So could try to utilize that late in the game to pick up a knockout elsewhere. But with the switch into this Reshiram and Charizard, we may just see this end up going for a Flare Strike. But it just feels so bad when you let your opponent get off an Ultimate Ray, dealing big damage to your Pokemon, and also accelerating a bunch of energy out of the deck to those Zacian Vs.
Yeah, and especially if Jordan's able to find another boss's orders as well as an energy this turn, and you can just take a 3 prize knockout on the Dedenne GX, it's gonna really put Jack on the back foot here. I think what maybe Jack is thinking is, okay, I've got 2 Cramorant V in my deck. Now all I need to do to close out the game is, you know, get a boss's orders knockout on one of these Arceus Dialga Palkia, and then also just take a Spit Shot knockout on one of them. And you can, that is totally reasonable, but you have to remember, this deck, this matchup, they're gonna be taking multiple prizes for each of those extra knockouts. So if Jordan can find, I guess, the great catcher now at this point, that would be ideal. Bring up that Dedenne GX and take those 3 prizes.
So we'll see Chaotic Swell down. It will remove that Giant Hearth from play. So Jack going to have less access to those fire energies out of his deck, because we see the Metal Energy come down onto that Arceus Dialga Palkia. Ultimate Ray dealing 180 damage to the Reshiram and Charizard, and more importantly, in this case, is going to also accelerate 3 Metal Energy out of the deck, assuming they're in there. Jordan has gone through a lot of the deck, so we'll see if there are 3 Metal Energy, but I'm assuming there is, especially as we see 2, and there is the 3rd Metal Energy going to get accelerated, 3 onto 1 Zacian and 1 onto the one with the Air Balloon.
Yeah, and this is a pretty good spot, honestly, for Jack. You get this Outrage KO, you get the attachment down to Cramorant, and so now as Jordan, you pretty much have to go with the boss's orders, bring up that Cramorant, knock it out, and hope that your opponent doesn't have the boss. And we see over in Jack's hand, boss's orders ready to go to bring up that Arceus Dialga Palkia with 200 damage already on it.
Yeah, Jack guaranteed the boss's orders the previous turn, utilizing Mewtwo Mind Report to put the boss's orders on the top of the deck. So if Jordan was paying attention, Jordan would know that that boss is in hand. But taking a look at the list here, the only really disruption card there is Marnie. But if you play Marnie, then there's no way for you to stop the Cramorant from taking the knockout. And I think Jordan kind of just acknowledges that. If you have the boss, or rather is just actually going to take the knockout onto the Reshiram and Charizard, Jack just has games straight up on board.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to take this knockout onto the Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia and secure this game.
Yeah, always tough when you have to put two tag team Pokemon in play because this is exactly what can happen. One of the things that does make Arceus, Dialga, Palkia Zacian decks so powerful is that your opponent has to still take 3 prize cards in order to win the game. Or excuse me, 3 knockouts in order to win the game. They have to knock out the ADP and then usually knock out 2 Zacian. In this instance, Jack got to just ignore Zacian completely, just took down 2 Arceus Dialga Palkias. I'm sure a lot of people are cheering to see that happen, and we'll see maybe in game number 2, Jordan chose to let Jack go first. Do you think we'll see Jordan change that strategy up and just go ahead and go with the usual, I'll go first as ADP?
That could be the best play. I mean, with this Welder Toolbox deck, you really have to hope when you're playing against it that they skip a beat. Being able to Welder every turn is just such a powerful effect on this card. And the main problem is if your ADP gets hit before being able to Altered Creation and not able to get an Ultimate Ray off, then things usually go downhill from there. They can take 3 prizes. You now need to rely off of Metal Saucers and attachments alone to get your Zacian Vs powered up. And with no real way to one-shot a Reshiram and Charizard, no Rusted Sword, no Vitality Band in this list, this just seems super difficult here for Jordan to be able to pull off.
All right, well, let's see if Jordan's able to make any sort of adjustments, and let's see what he decides as far as going first or second. We're going to go ahead and get down to the gameplay and see what is going to happen in this game number 2. Of course, Jordan needing to win this game in order to move on to the next part of the winner's bracket, and trying to force a game 3. Jack winning this game would send him on to the next part of the winner's bracket, and then Jordan would be moving down to the loser's side of things.
So interesting thing to note here, Jack will be going first. So Jordan opting to go second yet again, believes this is the proper way to go in this matchup. Let my opponent go first, try to get off that turn 1 Alter Creation. That really, from looking at the matchup, may be the only way to really stand a fighting chance, assuming your opponent can find the Welder, find their attackers, especially when Jack is getting 2 mulligans in addition to the top deck. Obviously is going to have plenty of cards in the hand to be able to search out and execute a strategy, and getting Reshiram and Charizard down, as well as an energy attachment, is really all you can ask for going first here for Jack.
Yeah, and this is super good, too. Now you're able to Flare Strike on turn 2. If you can Flare Strike into a Zacian V, you're able to take that knockout. And then you can still threaten the Double Blaze for the additional effect, right? Because you can get the Welder for a total of 6 energies on Reshiram and Charizard on your 3rd turn, and try to get off the Double Blaze GX for 300 into an Arceus Dialga Palkia that just used Altered Creation.
So action is back on Jordan. Starts that Zacian V. Is able to retreat that with something like an Air Balloon. Not one of your worst starters. Definitely want to be starting that Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia when possible. As Quick Ball will go ahead and ditch another Zacian V and find that Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia. I'm sure we're going to go ahead and see that get benched. And this is going to be on Jordan to find the pieces necessary to put together this Ultra Creation. But it definitely does not feel good when you're utilizing a Crobat to only draw yourself 2 cards.
Yeah, not the best start. Looks like was able to find another Quick Ball, though, which is pretty good. I wonder what pieces Jordan is hanging onto there that he chose to discard the Zacian as opposed to benching it to draw 1 additional card off of Dark Asset, right? So there must be some pretty solid cards there in the hand, some pretty decent options on Jordan's side.
Looks like there is another Zacian, which will go ahead and get Metal Saucer and has the energy switch. So this Dedenne will see 6 fresh new cards. Jordan needs to find that water energy and a switching card to get the Zacian V out of the active. Plays 2 Air Balloon in addition to 4 Switch, so has 6 switching outs in the deck. We'll see what that Dede change was able to find.
Also, still has not played a supporter
yeah.
as well. Yeah, it has that option to try to draw more cards. I mean, Jordan's already done the hardest piece of the puzzle for the turn 1 Altered Creation, right? You've gotten the Energy Switch and the Metal Saucer combo, but it looks like Jordan's hand is not strong enough to continue, and we'll just see the attachment to the Zacian V on the bench and an Intrepid Sword.
And this is where things start to go downhill. Jack, already in hand, has the knockout on this Zacian V. Just needs to find another Fire Energy, but there is plenty of ways to do that here. Stellar Wish looks like not grab anything here. There's no Fire Energy to grab with a Fire Crystal. So we could see this Scoop Up net go into yet another Jirachi, which we will. So we will see another Stellar Wish. Finding not what you really want to look for. Really wants to find the Giant Hearth to get that Fire Energy, the last one needed to take a knockout with Flare Strike, and then potentially utilize the Double Blaze for full effect in order to knock out this ADP in 1 hit.
And we'll see what Jack wants to go with here on the Quick Ball. Could just go ahead and prep another Pokemon in play and then Cherish Ball for the Dedenne GX. Looks like that's the strategy Jack wants to roll with. And only needing to find a Fire Energy, definitely very likely to hit either a Hearth or a Fire here, as we do see both of them as options. And we'll see that Flare Strike, and this is exactly what I was talking about. Now Jack is just going to be able to Double Blaze GX for 300 damage on turn 2 into this Arceus Dialga Palkia on the bench, and Jordan is just going to be so far behind.
Yeah, this just seems, again, like Jack's game has the game plan set, knows what needs to be done, and a very smart heads-up play will put the Welder on top with Primal Wisdom. That will protect him against Marnie, such a disruptive supporter card in the standard format. Will guarantee that Welder to be drawn, and assuming a Chaotic Swell does not come down from Jordan, then we may just see a guaranteed Welder in combination with Double Fire for next turn.
We do see the Air Balloon coming down to the Crobat, so that will be able to retreat this turn. Jordan not playing any big charms. I think that's the one thing Jordan could play here that would make him feel a lot more comfortable going with the Altered Creation, right? Now it's just going to feel real bad because it's what you want to do. Like, I mean, it's definitely better than just attacking with Zacian, right? But you're just giving up 3 prizes effectively, and you're going to have to try to find a way to make a 6-1 prize comeback.
Great Catcher is a start. It will go ahead and bring the Dene up, but getting rid of crucial pieces, such as another Metal Saucer hitting the discard pile. This is pretty much the last strand to stall this out, but as we know from the top deck, and if the Giant Hearth stays in play, then there is plenty of outs for Jack to get there. As Quick Ball will go ahead and get rid of the Professor's Research from Jordan's hand. Is going to grab a Zamazenta, which makes me think that this hand is going to get thinned out. With something like the Dene, which we do see hit the board. Dene change, going to draw 6 fresh new cards for Jordan. I have to imagine there's not much else you can really see this turn. You're going to most likely be using something like Altered Creation to get that extra effect, but it just feels like a little too late at this point. I know that's weird to say. It's usually turn
so
2,
early.
which this deck gets an Altered Creation down, right? It needs 2 attachments to do that. But in this matchup, this Tempo Zard-based deck, right, this Tempo Fire deck, really puts on aggression so quickly, and if your deck cannot respond, can't keep up with the heat, right? Can't keep up with the heat, get out of the kitchen, and that feels like the main, I guess, motto in this game, as Jordan just seems to be getting blown away by the aggression of this deck, the heat on the battlefield here that Jack is putting on display.
Yeah, Jack's going to go ahead and Giant Hearth, grab a couple energies out. We can see the Welder for 2. Finding a switch would be nice, but you also have the energy to manually retreat if you want it. Of course, we do see the switch drawn, which is pretty perfect. And Jack's, I mean, it's pretty straightforward here. You can take this extra prize card. Might as well prep something useful on the top. Looks like Mewtwo is going to be the choice here in case of a potential Marnie. And, I mean, this is a situation where if Jordan was playing something like Vitality Band, was playing something like the Rusted Sword, which is a new addition from the Shining Fates expansion to a lot of these decks, we could see a knockout here on this Reshiram and Charizard Tag Team GX, and maybe Jordan could find a way to claw back into the game via that. As it stands, anything you attack Reshiram and Charizard with is going to be knocked out. And if you boss around the Reshiram and Charizard, it will knock out whatever you attack with. So I mean, I guess Jordan could power up another ADP. That's about all I can think of. Yeah, Jordan is just going to go ahead and say GG's here. I don't think there's much of an option. It would have to be powering up another ADP, and that seems so unlikely. Jordan, unfortunately, losing that one. Unfortunately for Jack, finding the win, moving on to the next round of the winner's bracket. Jordan's going to have to try to make that loser's bracket run.
Yeah, we see this Tempo Zard deck take yet another win on the winner's side of the bracket. So showing to be a dominating force, at least in the North American and Oceania region.